people can see us. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Motion Design Hotline. Oh, boy. I'm having a day. I'm here with Kyle, though, so my day's about to improve. Kyle, how you doing?
I feel like I'm doing pretty well under the circumstances.
That's true. We're
Yeah.
all doing okay. So, we're on the show here. Welcome to the Motion Design Hotline, where we take your questions about After Effects, motion design, all kinds of things, and we try to solve them. We do our best. We don't have all the answers, but we Google better than than most. We maybe
Honestly, like a big part of being a successful motion designer is Googling on stuff a lot. So good rule of thumb.
That's right. And but today, because so many people are going are having to work from home, they're being taken from their in-house jobs to live in their own house for the whole day. I figured we could jump into some things. Maybe we could say some things to help people work from home better. Because you and I have been doing this for a long time.
I think I'm at 10 years.
Yeah,
Maybe 9.
I also 10 years. So if you do the math, clever observers will know how old Evan and Kyle are now. If you looked at my LinkedIn profile, then you'll know. But
I think I've said before that I'm 700 something.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
Friggin' Methuselah over here.
Yeah. I just worked in an office for a very long time.
But yeah, like you and I have been office free for a long time. There's a lot of systems in place. Your life has friggin' changed a lot over 10 years. So
Yeah.
like that's a lot of things to grow and deal with. I know there's people out there who have families at home that you're dealing with. You've got probably still a lot of client expectations going on. You probably have a lot of teams not only to interface with but to manage and stuff like that. So we want to open it up. If you have questions or concerns about working from home, we've all had about a week now, I guess, a week and a bit to see what's up and what's sticking in your craw. So Kyle, I'll turn it over to you, the craw daddy. What sticks in your craw most about working from home, and then how do you get over it?
Yeah. So I will also say that while we love questions, I think today especially, this is always true, but today especially, we love tips too, because I know that there's probably a decent amount of people watching that also work from home, maybe have been doing it for a while. And one of the broad themes you're going to get from today is that there's no one right answer for everybody. So, obviously Evan and I are the ones that can actually talk. But like we want your tips and your thoughts too. So, I'd love to be able to, if you have something that works really well for you and it's relevant to what we're discussing, throw it out there and we'll, discuss that as well. So all are welcome.
Yeah. Because I mean, one of the big differences between working in an office and working from your home is that you suddenly have you have almost full control of the environment, right? Mm-hmm. Unlike in an office where you sort of share that with, I don't know, like you have to come to a consensus in an office, It's like what's right for most people in here. Mm-hmm. And that is the sort of thing where, well, now I have to conform my working style to this system that probably doesn't actually work. So for me, it's an opportunity to discover how I actually work good and to actually be able to exploit things like that. So, for example, right, Kyle, are you a morning person or an evening person?
I am definitely not a morning person.
Okay.
I make it work okay. But I'm definitely more productive in the afternoon and evening.
Okay. So and for me, I'm the opposite, right? I'm a morning person that, I have the best creative energy during the first part of the day. That's kind of where I'm at with that. So by the end of the day, not so good. I'm not going to have the great ideas, but I can do more focused, grindy tasks towards the end of the day, we'll say. So being able to know where your rhythms are at and to be able to expect those, because quite frankly, that's something that you don't get. In an office, you're getting interrupted all the time with things, but at home, you're getting interrupted by a bunch of other stuff. So
Yeah.
it's depending on your environment. If you're a single person and you're now working from home, oh, the world's your oyster, right? You now live in solitary confinement. You want to pick up Charles Bronson's book about how to survive prison and work through that. Actually, he's a really interesting and horrifying person who wrote very interesting books. So anyway, so
those
Kyle,
are not the kinds of tips I expected today, but here we are.
Kyle, I'm going to tell you a lot about biohacking today.
So some of the stuff you were just talking about goes well into some of the things that I have in my notes to cover here, which again, like this is going to be different for you and like what your rhythms are, what your situation is. If you're a single person with no other things, obviously it's different than if you are part of an office that suddenly is all working out of their houses. But I think that one of the best things you can do to keep yourself on track, because that's definitely a hump that takes a little bit to get over when you're new to this. Like set yourself some dedicated blocks of time to work. Like, I mean, maybe this is a thing you had to do in an office too. Like, my door is closed, I'm busier now. You can't come in and talk to me about, the football game or whatever. But like, especially if you have roommates or partners or kids, like set yourself a dedicated block of time that you can do work. And then you can give yourself, a break after that. Try to figure out when you are most productive or when you are allowed to be most productive with the other external factors. And maybe a thing that you can do, I'm going to recommend a couple other things too. There's been some other good talks about this lately. So I'm adapting and stealing some things from some of those too. But you can do a thing called schedule bundling, where you maybe like, even if it's time when you can't be directly productive, you can like use that time a little bit to like figure out a bunch of small tasks that you're going to have to knock out. And then you can, when you're in your dedicated time, you're like, boom, 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 and just knock them all out.
Yeah. I think what's interesting about that, like, I find the delineation of time really important. So I try to work specifically in fits and starts, and for me, I use something called the Pomodoro technique. So for those of you out there in Tomato Nation, hello, the Pomodoro technique is this idea that you're going to work in sprints with dedicated breaks. So you're going to work for maybe 25 minutes, and then you're going to take a break for 5 minutes, or whatever your interval is. This idea that, I'm going to, for this thing, while this timer is going, 30 minutes, I'm doing this task. That's it. Everything else can just hang for a little bit. And then when that time is over, when that timer goes ding, it's time to take a break and to not do that task. You walk away, right? To give yourself reset periods. It's really easy to, like Taylor's saying, like this blending of things where, what is work? What is this? Everything becomes gradiated. Everything becomes flowy. It becomes everything is everything. So everything's nothing is the worst part. Like if every minute of your day is work time, then no minute of your day is work time. It really becomes like that. So you really want to get into those flows. And Clark Kett says, 52 work, 17 pause is the most productive. Well, tough to say. If people were machines, then we could just stick everybody in the same box. And I'm going to say this kind of deep attention is something that you kind of have to work up to, I think. Because not everyone has that same situation, that they're, either their circumstances or just their internal rhythms just can't do it, and it's, no tea, no shade, no lemonade. It's just how people are, but you can increase that. You can increase those spans a little bit at a time. It's like weight training or whatever, it's endurance training for your focus is the idea. Anyway. And,
again, we're going to say this stuff a lot, but like, it's, if this is a new thing to you, there's going to be a little bit of a hump to get over. But also kind of the whole world is doing it right now. So that's okay.
Yeah. Charlene's asking though, what do we do on these short breaks? So the idea behind this, if you believe in the method, the idea of the break is to not attempt to do some kind of task and to not attempt to simply switch to another task. It's meant to be a reset period, not a productive period, depending on that. So it's not like, oh, now I'm going to do laundry now, right? It's not really a break. You're not actually taking a break. You're just switching to another thing. And for some people, that may alleviate your stress. If completing chores around the house alleviates stress, then that's great, because that's no more of a stressor that was nagging at the back of your head while you were working. So if those things do actually alleviate stress and cause dopamine response and all this stuff, then, that is a good break. But the idea is you want to do something significantly different. So if I've been staring at a screen, I probably shouldn't play a video game for this little bit and burn my eyeballs some more. It's the idea that you have to do something significantly different than that thing that you were just doing. So that's
that means probably not just going like this and then getting on social media for 20 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, I don't know how you do it, Kyle, but I have kind of. And granted, my discipline this week has been bad. I have real bad comms discipline around here. But this idea of delineated time is usually, when things are going well, I check my email in the morning, at lunchtime, and at the end of the day.
Yeah.
No more emails. That's it.
So that it's not just a constant stream of interruptions. Yeah.
Yeah. Some people talk about this idea of latest and loudest. Like, what is the thing you're actually attending to? Well, you're doing whatever the latest stimuli told you to do, and whatever the loudest problem is that you're going to chase, which is not necessarily great for long-term projects that you have to chip at. If you're constantly being pecked at by the latest and loudest of things. Anyway, I'm spiraling. So
I'm sure we'll go off on some tangents like that today. Let's see. So, maybe it's not a bad time. So, again, like, we have some notes that we're going to talk through, and then obviously we'll just grab on things too. I like this. Emmanuel just said, that they like doing a Rubik's Cube during the break. Great distraction. I love puzzles. I've never been particularly good at a Rubik's Cube, but maybe now's the time to learn, huh?
That's right, Kyle. Now you could finally defeat your nemesis, the Rubik's Cube. It will taunt you no longer. This guy's peeling the stickers off. I've seen him do it.
I'm just working with the resources that are presented to me.
Mm-hmm. They say cheating is the skill you give yourself.
So I think maybe now is a really good time to, I think this dovetails nicely into, obviously, again, like, a lot of you were, maybe suddenly put into this and didn't have time to, do this properly. But I know Evan and I both have a dedicated office that we use for work. And we have a dedicated desk and a machine that are work machines. And, I'm sure that we both do non-work things on them every once in a while, but like, we have a physical space that is set up for this, and that makes a huge difference. So obviously right now, like, a lot of people are adapting to this and figuring out how to do it and have kids in the house and all that. So I think, one of the most important things you can do is, whatever that means for you, is figure out a space that is your workspace. And when you are there, you are doing work. Try not to, if it has to just be the couch, like, so be it. But figure out a thing that, like, helps both you figure out that you are at work right now, and also helps the people that you live with understand that you are at work right now.
Yeah. It's,
because it's
key.
Like, yeah. And it's going to be challenging, especially for people with young kids and stuff. Like, if you have a door that you can close, great. If you don't, like, maybe get yourself a pair of good headphones and, like, find a way you can put up, like, a red flag or something. Like, maybe that sounds silly, but if you have responsibilities that you need to be fulfilling right now to make income, like, that is a valid and important thing to be doing. So you need to find a way to communicate that, like, I am currently at work and for the next hour, I am not available for things except emergencies. And then you can take that down, be present and do that. And then when it's work time again, you're at work.
Yeah, it's rough when like to be able to set. I mean, what we're talking about is setting boundaries, right?
Yeah.
In a psychological sense, is that you're setting boundaries of when someone else can decide what to do with your time. Children have terrible boundaries. My wife and I do not have children for this exact reason, because children do not respect boundaries because they don't know what that means, right?
Yep.
And it's a concept that I don't think that many kids can have until they're like 10 or 12 or something.
Maybe. Yeah.
It's a long haul before they become able to understand that someone else's subjective needs are important. So, it's a rough thing to try to deal with. And, having a partner helps, but if you don't have one of those, it's definitely a time to teach people how systems are going to work,
Yeah.
that, well, during these periods, you gotta do coloring now, because I gotta do this. It's, I don't know how my mom put up with that crap, when she was trying to do work. It was rough, but again, it's all down to like, setting boundaries and setting expectations, and also enforcing them. That consistency is important. That as you slip on things like, oh, today I'll let it slide, well, then tomorrow it's going to be harder for you to enforce that boundary.
Yeah.
No matter what the boundary is, it goes for children, it goes for partners, it goes for roommates. Whatever boundary you let slide, it's harder to enforce the boundary later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I have a delineated workspace here. My wife has her delineated workspace, and when you leave the workspace, when you leave that area, even if it's when I sit at this table and I look in this way, that's what the work feels like now. I mean, I wear a collared shirt most days, because that signals to me that I go work now. I can't, whenever I'm wearing like sweatpants or something, which is rare, but it's hard for me to do work because that's relaxy pants.
I have a very timely visitor here who wants to say hello.
Oh yeah.
You're maybe visible. There you go.
Hey, buddy.
Good.
I saw Chris say a minute ago that he has a sign that he puts up to tell his kids that he's not available, which works about 40% of the time. So
yeah.
So, relevant.
Yeah.
Did I plan this? Maybe, because it's cute and fun, and we all need that right now, right?
That's right. Yeah. Oh man. How's hanging out with your pops doing?
Good.
You
can speak freely here.
No judgment here.
He's terrible at Minecraft.
What were we about to pivot to? I don't remember.
I don't know. I wanted to talk about how your Minecrafting was going.
Oh, that's going pretty well too.
Yeah.
So I don't know. A short way to say, like, these are weird times. Make sure you make time for this too, if that's something that you have.
Well, it is important. Like, a lot of people made the shift to work from home a long time ago to spend more time with their family.
Yeah.
Cut down on commute times and stuff like that. Yeah, but I don't know. There's a lot of things. Anyway, one of the things, to piggyback on that though, is this idea of needing to communicate more, that it's really important to, like, if you're going to share a space with someone and you're going to be stuck in that space with them,
okay,
you can't let like little things build up is another thing,
Exactly.
That, like, you have to kind of try to deal with your problems as they occur, as small problems remain small, so they don't build up into large problems over time, which is really a hard thing to do. But
yeah,
it's,
that might be. Evan has a note in our Milanote board that says communicate.
So this goes with everything. So if you're managing a team of people who are away and having to be autonomous, any technology you can use to have more touch points to have more check-ins to make sure that people are on the same page are more smaller points of contact as opposed to large gap of silence and then critical moments of contact. Yeah. Is kind of really important to just maintaining relationships over time. When we're in a physical office, we have touch points all the time. Oh, I'm walking by to get my coffee. How's it going? Oh, I'm walking to the office. I'm going to go to the. I can't even name the places that are in an office. I want to say bathrooms are in offices.
I don't think so.
No,
they got rid of those back in like the 50s.
Okay, so you're going to the pay toilet. So I don't know, just this idea that you're not going to have as much contact, as much free contact, right? You have to make a point to make contact. And if you're managing clients during this period as well, I'm going to really recommend you make that part of it. So that's just how it go, that it's critical to make those touch points more frequent and more regular. So
yeah, I saw Taylor say earlier, which made me both laugh and kind of like, that like after working from home for years, this feels like the most social time that we've had in a long time, actually, because suddenly everyone wants to be on video calls all the time.
Yeah. Well, I know there are people who just have a Slack open all the time and can share thoughts as they come in and out of their head. I think a big part of it is that even though we are socially distancing from each other, that's a physical thing. It's not meant to be an emotional thing. It's not meant to have no contact with people. Yeah. Like, you can still say hi to people on the street and be 3 meters away from them. Like, just don't spit on them.
Yeah.
Get your, like these things. I'll tell you, in my neighborhood, I've never seen more people out of their house.
Same.
Because they need that yard time. It's critical when you're in prison to get that yard time. So, I don't know. It's a lot of interesting stuff like that. You've got a note in our board about a bunch of like physical tools that are.
I do. So especially like.
What does Kyle wear?
I think
Kyle, I want to talk. I want to circle back. We got a question in the chat about your wardrobe. What are you wearing?
That was probably Chris, wasn't it?
No. That was C. That was C. Yeah, that was Green.
Yeah. So, truth be told, I'm wearing pajama pants right now, and I usually am because why not?
Because that's how your rhythms are.
Yeah. Though, like that brings up a good point. You mentioned wearing your collared shirt earlier.
Yeah.
Like, for some people, I know that for them to like, even if they don't have a dedicated space at their house or whatever, like for them, they get up, they brush their teeth, they get dressed, they like walk around the block and come in the back door, and now they are at work. And they make sure to get dressed and, be in work attire, like whatever works for you, even if it seems silly, like that's fine. Personally, I spend a lot of time working in like pajama pants and hoodies because I like to be comfortable. But having some kind of routine is definitely helpful, I think. Like, make sure that you shower and brush your teeth and stuff like that, and don't just like let it slide and then realize at 6 p.m. that you haven't taken care of your body at all.
Yes,
that adds up real fast.
Yeah, those are kind of weird. Things get weird sometimes. It really is. You kind of have to take this mentality that you're going to look after yourself because you have to be a little bit more selfish with your time. You have to be a little bit more cognizant, why should I brush my teeth and no one's going to smell my breath today? You should brush your teeth because your teeth are going to rot out of your head. Right?
Yeah.
Like if the only reason you do things is because of the social pressure to do them, I mean, that opens up a whole other can of worms that I don't know if we want to get into here, but because I have always felt the ritual of going to an office is whack, but that's an Evan problem. That doing these things and building these systems in are how people kind of get through a lot of things, is through ritual and through habit. So the trick is to create rituals and habits that serve you rather than harm you. And how you generate those is a journey into self-discovery. But yeah, I felt like we were gonna talk about some softwares there, Kyle.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
as I said, it's probably going to be a tangenty day.
Yeah.
So
We're all over the fucking place.
I think most of us that are currently watching two people talk about After Effects on the YouTubes are probably aware of video calls, but use those to your advantage, and again, figure out what works for you. Like for some people, having a video call with someone that's just up, like as a virtual coworker, is something that works really well for them. I've also seen like some tweets about people whose bosses are forcing them to do that, and that seems not cool.
That's pretty whack.
Yeah. So, again, like, so working from home all the time can certainly be socially isolating. And you have to make more of an effort to not get isolated. In normal times, that's like making efforts to go out to lunch with friends and do stuff like that, do meetup groups and whatever. Obviously, right now, that's video calls for the most part, but make a point of reaching out to people to do stuff like that, and just keep in touch with people. But, Google Hangouts, Skype, Zoom, whatever works for you, cool. Most of them are, being real lax about that right now. I do have, if you haven't used these because you're used to working with people physically, there's a couple good review services that are helpful, and you can take my screen for a second here.
We should go to Kyle's screen. Oh man, I thought it was going to be a screen-free day.
I have some stuff from a presentation that's somewhat relevant, but Whipster and Frame.io are kind of good industry standards for like sending these for team review or client review, where you can upload video files, stills, audio files, storyboards, all that stuff, and people can put notes on it and discuss. If you're used to doing all those things in person, get to know one of these. It will be your friend. Whipster does have a free 5 gig plan, which isn't going to go super far, but like that's a good start. And obviously, a lot of us are not looking to spend money right now. I'll just say this is an affiliate link right here. In normal times, I have no idea what that's functioning as right now, but you do need to use that to get the free 5 gig plan. So if you don't have one of these, check that out. And do it. There's also one called Sync Sketch that gives you like one free project. I think it's a little more aimed at students, but could be a good solution too. And then, so Vimeo, if you're still on Vimeo, I'm not, sorry, Vimeo, you kind of effed things up. If you have a pro account, it has a lot of those features too, where you can make comments at specific time codes. Sorry, that's the key thing on these. You can make comments at specific time codes or even frame ranges on some of them, specific points on the screen. So that's a really good way to work through team projects or work through review with clients. Dropbox Professional also has those same features where you can have time code established comments, which is really helpful. And then since I'm in here, if you happen to be on team projects, great. It's probably a great time for it. Here are a bunch of After Effects specific tools that make sharing projects back and forth a lot easier. I'm not going to name all these right now. You can look at this and pause it, and we'll probably post these as well. So these are just good for like consolidating projects or packaging things up or making them easier for other people to edit or things like that. So if that's the situation you're in right now, look into these. Maybe some of those will be helpful for you. File sharing. Oh, file structure templates. Maybe this is a good time to get all your file structures in order too. So check that out. Where am I? I'm going the wrong way here. My other stuff is somewhere. Oh, so obviously, if you're just now discovering file sharing, this might be a challenging time for you. But Dropbox and Google Drive and OneDrive are all good for like smaller teams, stuff like that. You might be using them anyway to share files to clients and stuff too. I've definitely heard people tell me that these tend to break down at scale. And off the Monday meeting call the other day, there were some good recommendations for Media Shuttle and Resilio for like more, professional level file sharing and fast like footage sharing and stuff like that. So yes, Dropbox is horrible for video preview, Carl. That's absolutely accurate. Dropbox, sorry, I love about a lot of things about you, but your video compression sucks.
What? Hey, wait a minute. Name a second good thing about Dropbox.
I use it for a ton of things and sharing files to people and keeping it all organized and stuff. But their video compression and thus video preview is not a strength.
Yeah. Dropbox makes me angry for a lot of reasons. I find their permissions of when to sync and how to sync make me very agitated sometimes.
Yeah.
And,
which is why it breaks down at scale, potentially.
yeah, because it decides that, hey, it's time to sync your whole hard drive. Oh, wait, I deleted those. Oh, hey, let me delete it all. No, wait.
I will say that for Google, Drive file stream is a thing I really like because I can have access to everything, but it does not have a local copy. And so I use it primarily for archiving personally, but that can be a useful thing right now. I don't think that you want to work off those files, but it could be a good way to share files that multiple people need to have access to. And then you bring them local, you do your work, and then you can put stuff back up there. So yeah. Nick says, Dropbox, clients love it, so you have to use it.
That's right. Don't let your subscription lapse or you'll be annoyed later. Oh, man. Well, hey, those are good objects to be using. I was trying to think, because we use, oh, man. Let's see, we got the Skype going. We've got Discord. People love Discord. Whereby. People love Whereby. I'm just trying to think of, like, how many different ways people attempt to call me during the day.
I've had conversations on Blue Jeans, but that's more one specific entity that uses that.
That's right, Blue Jeans. Oh, I've had someone not from there get me on the Blue Jeans, and I was shocked.
Wow.
I was like, what? How do you have this? Why do you know of this program? You know, why is this something? Well, we've hit the halfway point of the show, Kyle. We did it.
Wowzers.
We're doing it. What do we got? I'm going to take us back to the. Do you got more on your screen, or let's go back to...
No, I'm good. I'm
okay,
good.
Let's stop.
We'll make people look at my face again.
That's right. We're returning to faces, eyes and teeth. We got some questions in the chat, though. What do we got?
We do.
What do we got to deal with in here? We got we got some questions about training. We have some questions about finding work and et cetera from Clark. Hopefully Clark's still hanging with us in the chat. I know that was back near the start of the show.
Clark's always hanging with the chat. Come on.
It's an interesting time to be alive. I mean, I don't want to talk too much about economic downturn because I cannot forecast what it's like to live in you know. I mean, we worked through one recession marginally. I was pretty early in my career during the 2008 thing. That would have been. Actually, I left the country during that period. Wait a minute. What was I doing in 2008? So it can be difficult in these times. But like I've been talking to a lot of clients who basically their video production wing is done.
Right. We are the option now.
Yeah. That it's safer to do. It's cost effective. And quite frankly, you know, it is kind of a hole, you know, that, well, live video production done. Time for non-live, time for animated stuff. So anyone who was doing one is now going to have to pivot into the other. We're also probably going to be looking at a lot more green screen chroma keying type of things and stuff. Mm-hmm. Speaking of, get that off my screen. It was just been interesting talking to some of these clients who are primarily focused in video production. The other thing that's really interesting, you know, for us, I guess, is that the types of clients we've always worked with over the last 10 years have been comfortable with remote work, comfortable with freelancers. Yep. So it's not that big of a shift, you know, for us, because we've kind of, through attrition, ended up with a client base that is comfortable here in the 21st century. In the crazy way that is so crazy, the way human work.
I guess for better or for worse, again, like everyone's going through kind of the same thing right now, so they're going to have to adapt. Yeah. But there's definitely like kind of an education process for a client that has not worked with someone remotely. Getting somebody on, you know, something like Frame or Whipster, things like that, having like regular conversation touch points so that you're touching base regularly instead of when things are bad.
Yeah.
That's definitely part of having a healthy remote client relationship.
Yeah, and I mean, it's interesting, like, is the way you approach someone during lean times different than the way you approach a client during any other times? Not especially. It's the same. It still has to be a value proposition. What are we actually trying to achieve with the work we're creating?
Yeah.
And for some people, that means trying to keep clients. But I mean, the reality is that if there's less consumer spending, then there's just less budget around. People tighten their pants all the time. I mean, I don't want to be super dour about it, but the big thing is to remember that that you need to frame things as a value proposition, and there will probably be less frivolous spend on things, but at the same time, as more and more things become outsourced, it becomes more natural to be doing things outside the scope of an area. So it's, and I think Joel's got a good point in the chat about the need to communicate and advertise still very high. For people to be able to make that happen. Like, there has never been more desire for content. There has never been more desire for engagement. And, I'm surprised Twitter hasn't blown up with the number of people who are staring at it all day long. It's wild. And
Go ahead.
I was going to say, for example, here's a weird pivot. Every brewery here in town now does home delivery.
Right.
Right. And then how do they communicate about that? Well, they're posting on social media all the time, pretty much with every delivery, to remind you, hey, this is a thing we do. So the idea of having a presence and of putting media out in the world is still important. Is still a thing that need to be done. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to do around that. Essentially, I mean, one of my things is like, well, I've never had a harder time being productive, and yet people keep asking me to produce things.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's important to say too, like, we're in weird times, but like, there's definitely no shame in promoting yourself right now, because we are suddenly a motion design and post-production in general, people who can make things from not a lot of source material are extremely valuable right now for all the businesses that need to remind people to spend money on them. So don't, like, it probably is going to feel weird. It certainly feels weird to me, but like, don't be afraid to promote yourself to companies that need your services right now. Cause, you got bills to pay, they got bills to pay, and we're all just figuring this out the best we can. So,
yeah, and although brick and mortar places may be lower on those things, it is an acceleration of what is the trend that was already happening.
Yeah.
So.
And yes, Brian, people probably are going to have less money to spend. Agreed. So there's probably some industries that are, if you had a bunch of business in the travel industry, you're probably not going to be hearing from them right now.
Yeah.
But, there are other industries that are suddenly, going to get 500% the customers that they used to have. So
yeah, it's a shifting, and to be wily in the environment is critical. And the other thing I wanted to say is that working from home, you think, oh man, I'm not very productive at home. Kyle, you and I have worked from home forever, and we're less productive now. I know I personally am, just because my mind is on 1,000 things. And no amount of systems can protect the human element from what is a stressing time. So you got to give yourself a break. And as for folks like, how long is this stuff going to last? I have no idea, because we're not doctors.
Nobody knows. Yep.
We're not, what's epidemiologists?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. So Nick has a good question that popped up, and this is a thing that I was going to kind of look at.
Yeah.
So, and I don't think we're going to have a good answer for this, but Nick asked, do you think it makes sense to change your rates? Personally, at least in the short term, I am not planning on making a change to my rates. But like, that's a thing that everyone's going to have to answer for themselves and for their clients and their situation. Like,
yeah, my stance on rate is that it has to be tied with the value of the thing.
Yeah.
in the space, and kind of has to be I don't know. It has to be tied to what the market will hold. So maybe, but ultimately, at the end of the day, it's got to be tied to like value. So if someone comes to you and says, "Well, I has no money," if a client is doing that, then you have to say like, "Well, what is your budget? What can we effectively do within that space?" Right? That conversation I think remains the same. I don't think anything's changed about how client services work. Right? That if the end billings are going to be lower, then what can we do to make that work for everybody? And where is that price point at? So, when we talk about more touch points, more meaningful touch points, when people are more disconnected, it's easier to be dismissive of things. So I think it's important to continue with high engagement and making that happen. So,
as Zach just said, I would change the scope of the project, not your rate. So maybe try to sell clients on cheaper, faster projects, which is a good, in normal times is a good thing too. If they want a $10,000 project and they only have $1,000, don't do it for $1,000. Figure out a way to make what they want only take $1,000 worth of, effort and still achieve as many of those same goals as they can.
Yeah.
As Joel said, most of your normal expenses aren't going to get cheaper. So I think a thing to be very wary of is I think humans in general are probably going to do our best to be cool to each other right now. But there's probably also going to be people that are going to pounce on this as an opportunity to get stuff for cheaper, So don't let yourself be abused just because you are, feeling the anxiety about it.
Yeah. There's an old sales tactic to make someone afraid, so they jump. It's the exploding sale. It's the pressurized kind of deal. I tell you, man, people have been breaking into cars in my nice neighborhood this past week, which is a bummer on two fronts. One, don't break into people's cars, and two, you just touched my car handle. Come on. Anyway, that's what I'm dealing with around here. Boo on them. Boogans.
But they're Canadians, so they left a little apology note, right?
They did not. They're forgetting that they'll be the first on the ice flow. What else we got going on though? I want to let's bring us back. Let's get productive in our house, Kyle.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's do that.
Good. So a thing that I think we kind of danced around the edges of this, but never quite did it. Take care of your body right now. And
I see you hovering over the take care of your body section.
Take care of your body. I don't necessarily mean that in the overall health risk thing, although that's obviously, a factor. But working from home, take care of your body. Like I said, shower and brush your teeth, but also as Evan mentioned earlier, when you have your work right here, it can be very easy for things to blur together. And suddenly you realize that I've worked till 11 p.m. 5 days in a row and never moved from my chair during most of those times. If you need to set a timer so that you get up and stretch once an hour, take walks, walk your dog, whatever, again, that's part of figuring out a routine that's going to work for you. But since if you're real used to walking around, talking to other people throughout the day and things like that, figure out what you need to do to break up your thing so that your brain doesn't just fall into a work hole or something. Don't forget to get outside. The weather's actually been kind of crappy here, but you can still go outside. Just go enjoy the sun. Yeah. Get some sun. If you exercise, obviously, you might have some limits on what's viable now, but yeah, exercise.
Elmo's asking, do you exercise? Kyle, what do you lift? What are you doing?
I'm not great. I mostly walk the dog and sometimes do the elliptical machine and stuff, but
it's wild. So I don't know. I try to stay fit. I was going to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for a while, but that's too close you can't be that close to people anymore.
Yeah.
So one thing I'm going to say though is ergonomics. If you're working on a laptop at a dinner table, that is not set up
No.
to do that for long stretches of time, you will hurt your body. And I know we don't know when this thing will end, when we'll be going back to normalcy, but or if this is the new normalcy, we don't know that either. But so my wife is now working from home, and I was like, well, we're not going to just do a stopgap maneuver here. We are going to make sure this is comfortable, that this is good, and that this is going to work. 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and it's useful. So it's
I definitely I don't want to recommend someone goes out and buys an Aeron right now or anything, but do what you can to make your if you have to be working right now, do what you can to make your workspace as comfortable and ergonomic as possible with what you have or what you can afford or get or whatever. Try to get a decent chair, at least one that doesn't actively hurt you. Figure out a way to make your table or desk be the height that you need it to be, even if that's a card table and some sawhorses or something. It doesn't have to be pretty, but try to make it as functional as you can.
Yeah, I mean, this year I just pivoted to standing desk. Hashtag evolve the desk. And it's been an interesting thing to kind of work through. I think there's a reason that that it's useful to really invest in the physical systems around you, and that if it's uncomfortable, you'll avoid doing it. That's the main thing. And although there are a lot of physical offices around the world that have been moving towards making their productivity units, people more comfortable in the workspace, it's not. I don't know. If I had to go work in somebody else's office, my body would hurt because I've been so used to the luxury of having fine control over stuff around here. So
I think that's one of the reasons that I started really shifting to working at home. I kind of started realizing several years ago that I was getting very particular about my work setup because otherwise my wrist was killing me, my back was killing me, and working on site at places even just after a couple days, I was feeling it for a long time and just kind of decided that wasn't worth it for me. Nick Campbell, I'm pretty sure it was Nick. I'm going to recommend the latest Grayscale Gorilla podcast because they talked about a lot of this too. But he put it a really good way. Spend money on the things that you touch. Your work things that you're touching every day, your keyboard, your mouse or Wacom or whatever, the chair that your butt sits in or the pad that you're standing on or whatever, that's where you want to invest so that you're not killing your body doing this stuff.
Yeah, I guess it's critical to remember that the most important machine in your household is you.
Yes.
That if that thing doesn't work, if your physical body doesn't work, then that's not going to be great.
Yeah.
And you're going to end up with all sorts of more problems and really snowballs.
Yeah.
It can be wild. I remember when I lived in the Caribbean for a little bit, where you do not have access to desk. If you want to buy desk, sorry, no desk. There's no IKEA to go to and stuff, so you kind of have to figure it out. And I was working on this built-in concrete table that was poured as part of the house we were living in. I think that was it. Anyway, it was a hazy time.
Sounds amazing.
Look, Kyle, it was a hazy time to be alive, and I just remember my body feeling so terrible because this thing was the complete wrong height. This thing was like a full 6 inches too short from where it needed to be. So I'm like this. I got a stack of encyclopedias and trying to get my computer up to height, and at the time I was like, oh yeah, well after a week I was like, oh yeah, I can muscle through this. And then week 2 I just hit the wall, bam. Oh hey, your body's F now, now you're doing no work. You got to hang out at the beach. Sorry. All in all, not a terrible time, but when you're still expected to be productive, not great.
Yeah. So Xander Corp made a comment in here that I kind of wanted to make a disclaimer just to make sure, I am definitely not telling you to go buy an expensive desk right now.
Heck no.
Like I said, do the best you can with what you feel comfortable doing. This might be a couple weeks. It might be longer than that. So
Yeah.
figure out a way to make it not kill your body if this is the new normal for the foreseeable future. That's an important thing.
Yeah, I think the main takeaway is to not think of your comfort as disposable.
Yeah.
Right? That if you're going to drop something from the equation, don't sacrifice that part of it.
Yeah. That's a good way to phrase it.
We go back to that thing where I said, like, you got to be a little bit selfish, right? Like, I'm gonna spoil myself on this one, right? Because, like, this is the reason why I spend a good hour researching keyboards.
Yeah.
It's like, because that thing's pretty critical. How many times I touch the keyboard? The last time I spilled enough tea on my keyboard to destroy it, as I was distraught.
Spill some tea, Evan.
Folks, I do not drink the coffee. I don't drink the devil's bean. But
it's the devil's leaf instead, huh?
Kyle, in more ways than one. Things people don't know about Evan. But yeah, it's definitely it's not that difficult.
Yeah. As Xander Corp says, essentially, like, if it's possible to, if you work for a company, maybe they can help set you up. Like, maybe you can get that desk that you were using in the office and bring it home.
That's true.
I feel like these are weird times. Don't be afraid to ask for things if you're being expected to do certain things, but not being given the proper resources, like, I feel like this is a good time to advocate for yourself.
Yeah.
We talked about boundaries a little bit, and I do have a note here that says manage expectations, which, again, like, everybody's kind of in the same boat right now, but, like, manage expectations with your coworkers, your boss, your family. We're all figuring this out together, but, like, communicate with people and try to be clear about what is doable and what is viable right now,
I love that the video is actually like a minute behind when people get it. So now I finally get to see people react to my solid devil's bean drop.
Yes.
Which is great. That's what I call coffee, because I have a terrible anxiety reaction to caffeine. So it hurts my sensitive body. I worked for a long time in sales at an ad place where they really jacked us up on caffeine nonstop to remain powerful and alert. Unfortunately, it really fried my my system. Of course, I'd been drinking coffee since I was like 5, so it's maybe I did it to myself. But
sitting on a Caribbean beach drinking coffee when you were 5.
Oh my goodness, yeah. No, that was a different time. I was
I was age 7.
That's right. But I don't know, these things like becoming over caffeinated and stuff. It's interesting, how much I think back on that time and it's like, what was I doing to myself? Why was I trying to game so much productivity out of my body?
Yeah.
And at what cost? And we can definitely fall into that trap too. Like, I can work from home. I can finally become the best version of a robot I can be. Maybe also just don't do that.
Yeah. I think the best version of a robot is the one that is happy.
Hey, you watching Star Trek Picard right now?
I'm not yet, but that's super soon on the horizon.
Well, I don't want to spoil anything for you then.
Yeah, please don't.
Okay.
I know we're coming to the end here. I do have a couple links I wanted to
let's go back.
Put up here.
Let's go back to Kyle's screen time.
Okay, so like I said, Grayscale Gorilla did have a good podcast about their team is fully remote, and this is a podcast about being remote and working from home as well. I will say, just for context, this came out on the 12th and was obviously recorded a bit before that. So, it's a little bit before things really opened up here for at least North America. So just keep that in context. But I found a lot of good stuff from this. And then also, I wanted to give a shout out to Monday Meeting, which is a good thing to be doing if you're a work from homey anyway in the motion design industry, or maybe even if you're not. But this Monday, it was specifically talking about working from home. But they have a thing every Monday morning at 9 a.m. Central. Yes. So that would be 10 Eastern or 7 Pacific, unfortunately. But, they got to pick something that works. But it's just a Zoom call that everybody hops on and talks about stuff. There's usually a specific topic, but so I just wanted to recommend this episode specifically, but also this as a thing that you should be doing to connect with people and connect with the industry and talk about stuff.
Yeah, carve that time out. It's good time, man. Quality time. Also, this program, we're here every Friday, Kyle. So
are we? Whoa, weird.
Well, until they shut us down. Yeah, Kyle, we're here every Friday. Did you have more screen stuff?
Nope.
That's
those were my two.
We're all done. Oh, well, and I've got a call at 2, so I gotta mosey along. But while we're here, I did want to say, we're gonna keep on pooping out content. This show is gonna continue in some capacity because we continue to do it from home. No one can stop us. We'll just watch the mountain of toilet paper slowly grow behind Kyle as he as he gets more of it.
I wish that I knew how to paint well, and I could start painting little rolls here on the grid, little virtual rolls.
That's right. Oh man! But I sincerely hope that everyone out there who's hanging out with us is staying safe and is looking after themselves, and wherever you are in the world, you look after each other and be kind to each other and continue to. Just continue to be. So that's about all we can hope for. And the other thing is, if you have quandaries for Kyle and I, Kyle, where can people get at you on social media?
Well, on Twitter, I am beep. On Twitter and Instagram, I'm Kylosaurus Rex. One of them has a space and the other one doesn't. Or you can find me at kylehammer.com. Get in touch with me, get in touch with Evan at his stuff. Send us questions. Let us know what you want to talk about. I think we're going to attempt to keep the format, relatively samey here, and we'll just see how that goes. We have some more guests we're going to try to have on.
Oh, heck
hopefully.
Yeah. And
and
you know what, Kyle? They can't say they're busy now.
That's true.
All those people who blew us off for NAB. Oh yeah. We're coming back for you. That's maybe the one side benefit here is that booking guests is going to be so much easier. Oh my goodness, it's going to be so great. It's a real silver linings playbook over here. If people want to get at me, I'm at EC Abrams on most of the platforms. But hey, the best way to get us questions is to use the form. Use the form. Use our Google form. So, the Google form in the description of this very video. Whoa. We've got some questions building up in there, and I think we're going to just pivot back to talking mostly technical things. We're going to be your technical vacation. You can just come and nerd out and forget about the rest of the stuff, and just stick your head into the computer box with Kyle and I. That's right. Stick your head into the Tron machine with Kyle and Evan and see what's going on. Oh, man, are the Guardians going to get us with their laser discs? I don't know. I haven't seen Tron in a long time. Oh, man, it feels good to go on a tangent with you, buddy. It's a good time.
Well, we'll have to add some Star Trek-related tangents very soon, both for myself and for Brian.
Right. Okay, next week, you come back. You watched Picard Episode 1.
Well, we'll see. I mean, I could talk about TNG or DS9 for hours right now.
Okay, cool. Well, that's perfect. Well, which was your favorite of the episodes where the DS9 hard pivoted into a really weird science fiction program that had nothing to do with space anymore? If people don't know what I'm talking about, you're going to have to watch the later seasons of Deep Space Nine. I don't remember what those episodes were called, but they were insane. They'll break your brain, man. Anyway.
I'll say personally, real quick, only because I sort of know. I used to do some work for a guy that was the effects supervisor on DS9, actually, and he showed me once some of the work that they did in the big Dominion space battles closer to the end there. And particle generators were not really a thing yet, and so a lot of a lot of the explosions, they're just comped in explosions, but they had to like put debris in.
Right.
And they used to do fun stuff like, because this was also before you could, freeze frame stuff nearly as easily. They would have things like put his dog in as, real small, but like as a piece of debris that comes out of a ship, and little Easter eggs like that for themselves, which I really enjoyed.
Awesome. Well, hey, I got to run on. Kyle, it's always a great time to hang with you. It's great time hanging out with everybody in the chat. We will see you next week for more of this. Same motion time, same motion channel. I just touched my face again. Ah! All right. Bye for now.
Bye, everybody. Take care.